Today we will conduct an investigation to find out what cup features seem most important for keeping a drink cold. The materials that we will use will be a fancy metal cup with a lid, a fancy plastic cup with a lid, a regular metal cup with a lid, and a regular plastic cup with a lid. Before beginning this experiment, I have placed ice, water into a pitcher and have waited for the temperature to reach 6 degrees Celsius or below. Let's take a look at the thermometer. Making sure that we are using the degrees Celsius side and not the Fahrenheit, we will now look at the thermometer and we can see that it is below 6 degrees Celsius. So we will pour 400 milliliters of water into a beaker. Once you have measured the 400 milliliters of water in the beaker, you will then pour it into the cups each. Here is the fancy cup with 400 milliliters of water being poured into it. Here is the fancy plastic cup with 400 milliliters of water being poured into it. Here is the regular metal cup with 400 milliliters of water being poured into it. Here is the regular plastic cup with 400 milliliters of water being poured into it. Okay, so the initial temperature reading was 3 degrees Celsius, so we record that on our data chart. The first thermometer reading, when we look at it, we can see that it is at 4 degrees Celsius. This one with the fancy double walled, we can tell that it is at 4 degrees Celsius. The regular cup we can look at and see that it is at 9 degrees Celsius. The regular plastic cup, we can see that it is at, looking closely, right above the 5, so 6 degrees Celsius. For the fancy metal double-walled cup, the temperature is still holding at 4 degrees Celsius. Let's look at the fancy plastic cup with a lid. The temperature reading is holding at 4 degrees Celsius. For the regular metal cup with a lid, let's look at the temperature. The temperature reading is at 9 degrees Celsius. The regular plastic cup with a lid, let's take a look at the temperature. The temperature reading for this one would be 6 degrees Celsius. Let's look at the plastic cup. Do you see anything happening on the plastic cup? How about the regular metal cup? Do you see anything that you can observe? What is that word? What is the word that we can use to describe this? Is it condensation? It's even happening on the fancy plastic cup. And look at this cup, the fancy metal cup. Condensation is happening towards the bottom, not so much at the top. Okay, for the fancy metal cup, let's take a look at the temperature. The temperature reading is still at 4 degrees Celsius. Let's look at the fancy plastic cup with the lid. The temperature reading is at 5 degrees Celsius. For the regular metal cup with the lid, let's look at the temperature. The temperature reading is at 10 degrees Celsius. For the regular plastic cup with the lid, the temperature reading is at 7 degrees Celsius. Now it is at the 12-minute mark. Let's look at the fancy metal cup with the lid. The temperature is at 4 degrees Celsius. The fancy plastic cup with the lid, the temperature is at 5 degrees Celsius. The regular metal cup with the lid, the temperature reading is at 10 degrees Celsius. Regular plastic cup with the lid, the temperature reading is 7 degrees Celsius. Do you notice any observations that you can make about these cups? It seems like these cups that are regular have more condensation, and these cups that are double-walled have less condensation. When I touch them, the regular cups are colder to the touch than the fancy cups. Why do we think that is? Now it is time to take a final reading at 15-minute mark. The fancy metal cup will be the first to test. The temperature has reached 5 degrees Celsius for the fancy cup. Let's look at the fancy plastic cup with the lid. The temperature reading has reached 5 degrees Celsius. Regular metal cup with the lid, the temperature has reached 10 degrees Celsius. Regular plastic cup with the lid, the temperature reading is at 8 degrees Celsius. So based on the data collected, what can we conclude from this experiment? Stop and think. One thing that we can conclude is that single-walled cups seem to warm up faster than double-walled cups. Also, think about what was the independent and dependent variable in this experiment. The independent variable would have been the type of material used. The dependent variable would have been the temperature.